And I just stood there, looking at the broken coffee mug on the floor, feeling my face turn bright red while the entire office went silent. It was an absolute nightmare.
And let me guess, Luna, your first instinct wasn't to look for a broom or a towel, but to apologize 1,000 times to anyone within earshot, wasn't it?
Exactly. I said, "I'm so sorry," about 5 times in 10 seconds. It felt like my brain just went into apology mode because I was so embarrassed. Welcome back to Speak English with Luna, everyone. Today we are diving into a habit that is quietly holding your fluency back, over-apologizing for your mistakes. I'm joined by the brilliant Dr. Elias Thorne, a specialist in the psychology of communication.
It's a pleasure to be here, Luna. That moment with the coffee mug is a perfect metaphor for how many English learners feel. They break a grammar rule or forget a word, and they immediately try to pay a sorry tax to feel better. But here's the truth. Every sorry you say for a linguistic mistake is actually a tiny hit to your confidence. We need to shift that energy and stop paying that tax immediately.
I love that idea of a sorry tax. It's so expensive for our self-esteem. We are going to break that habit today. Dr. Thorne, let's jump right in. Why do we feel this desperate need to apologize for just learning? It's so true, Dr. Thorne. I see my students do this every single day. They make a small mistake with a verb tense, and they immediately look down and say, "Oh, sorry, my English is so bad." It's like they are asking for permission to speak.
Exactly, Luna. And psychologically, when you say sorry for your English, you're actually telling your brain that you were doing something wrong. But learning is not a crime, it's an achievement. The first big insight I want to share today is the gratitude shift. Instead of apologizing for your struggle, you should thank the other person for their support.
The gratitude shift? That sounds powerful. How does that work in a real conversation?
It's simple but life-changing. If you are struggling to find a word, don't say, "Sorry, I'm so slow." Instead, look at the person and say, "Thank you for your patience." Do you see the difference? Sorry makes you look small. Thank you makes the other person feel like a kind, helpful partner in the conversation.
I love that. It changes the whole energy of the room. It moves the focus from my mistake to your kindness. Okay, everyone, it's time for our first vocabulary checkpoint. Let's look at 2 important words Dr. Thorne just used. Patience, that is the ability to wait without getting angry, and shift, which means a small but important change in position or direction. Instead of a sorry shift, we want a gratitude shift.
Perfect definitions, Luna. Now, I have a question for the listeners. I want you to stop what you were doing for a second and think, how many times today have you said sorry when you didn't actually do anything wrong? Go to the comments right now and tell us, are you an over-apologizer?
That is a great challenge. I used to be a massive over-apologizer myself, but once you start saying thank you for waiting instead of sorry I'm late, your confidence really starts to grow. This is where things get really interesting, Dr. Thorne. We've talked about the gratitude shift, but I want to go deeper. I know you've worked with many high-level executives and creative professionals who struggle with this even when they reach an advanced level of English. Do you have a story that really illustrates the damage that sorry can do to a career or a dream?
I certainly do, Luna. I remember a client of mine named Elena. She was, and still is, a brilliant architect from Italy. She moved to Seattle to lead a massive sustainable housing project. Now, Elena's English was actually quite good, probably a solid B2 or even C1 level. But she had a perfectionist complex. Every time she was in a board meeting with investors and she struggled to find a highly technical term, let's say a specific word for a structural beam, she would stop, look at the floor, and whisper, "I'm so sorry, my English is failing me today."
Oh, that hurts to hear. I can almost feel her anxiety through your description. It's that feeling of being a giant in your own language, but feeling like a small child in English. What happened to the energy in those meetings when she did that?
It was fascinating and heartbreaking, Luna. Before she apologized, the investors were leaning in, completely captivated by her innovative designs. But the moment she said sorry for her language, the atmosphere shifted. The investors started to look at each other. They weren't judging her English.
They were beginning to doubt her authority. You see, when we apologize for our learning process, we inadvertently signal to others that we aren't confident in our message. It's what I call the apology paradox.
The apology paradox. Let me see if I understand this. The more we apologize to try and be polite or fix the mistake, the more we actually draw attention to the mistake and make it a bigger problem than it was.
Precisely. By apologizing, Elena was essentially highlighting a tiny crack in a beautiful building. If she had just paused, breathed, and described the concept using different words, no one would have even noticed the missing word. We worked together for months on a concept called cognitive reframing. I told her, Elena, when you stumble, you are not failing, you are processing. We practiced a technique where instead of saying sorry, she would simply say, let me rephrase that, or what I'm getting at is, and then continue with a smile.
That is such a powerful shift in mindset. It's about taking ownership of the conversation. I want to pause here for our second vocabulary checkpoint, because you used some very B2 level language there, Dr. Thorne. You mentioned inadvertently, which means doing something without intending to or by accident, like when you inadvertently make someone nervous because you are nervous yourself. You also mentioned captivated, which is a much stronger word than interested. If someone is captivated, you have their total attention. And finally, rephrase, to say something again using different words to make it clearer.
Excellent words, Luna. And notice how rephrase is a proactive tool, while sorry is a reactive one. To the listeners out there, think about the last time you felt like Elena. Maybe you were giving a presentation or just ordering coffee. Did you feel like you were less than because you didn't have the perfect vocabulary? There is a psychological concept called the Pratfall Effect. It suggests that people who are generally competent, like all of you learning English, actually become more likable when they make a small mistake, as long as they handle it with grace and humor. People love authenticity. They are intimidated by perfection.
That is so liberating. So if I make a mistake and I just laugh it off or say, wow, my brain is on vacation today, I'm actually building a better connection than if I were perfect.
Absolutely. When Elena finally stopped apologizing, her career skyrocketed. She realized that her broken English didn't mean she had a broken brain. She started leading meetings with a new kind of presence. She would say, bear with me while I find the right technical term, and she would keep her head up. The investors didn't see a struggling non-native speaker. They saw a confident leader who was navigating a complex global environment. That is the aspirational part of this journey, Luna. It's not about removing the mistakes. It's about removing the shame attached to the mistakes.
Removing the shame. I love that. It's about building resilience. That's another great word for our listeners. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. It's your mental bounce-back factor. If you trip over a word, do you fall down and stay down with an apology? Or do you bounce back and keep running?
That's the ultimate question. In the psychological world, we see that people who allow themselves to be imperfect actually learn languages up to 40% faster because they're not wasting mental energy on anxiety. They're using that energy to process new information instead.
40% faster? That is a massive difference just by changing how we react to our own errors. Dr. Thorne, this is incredibly deep. I think we are ready to step into some even more sophisticated territory. Dr. Thorne, we are stepping into truly elite territory now. Many of our listeners are aiming for high-level leadership roles, international networking, or academic excellence, where every word carries significant weight.
Indeed, Luna. When you operate at a C1 level, you are navigating the subtle nuances of social hierarchy and professional etiquette. One thing I've noticed with very advanced learners is that they still carry the apology baggage from their beginner days. But here's the cold, hard truth. In a high-stakes environment, over-apologizing can be perceived as a lack of gravitas. It creates an aura of subservience, as if you were asking for permission to occupy space in the conversation.
Linguistic subservience. That's a heavy term. It means acting like a servant with your words. It's fascinating because we often think people are judging our grammar, but in reality, they're usually judging our stature and our confidence. If you apologize for a misplaced comma in your speech, you're essentially telling the world that you don't believe you belong at the table.
Precisely. True eloquence isn't about being flawless, it's about how you handle the flaws. It's about maintaining your composure when the perfect word eludes you. This is what separates a proficient speaker from a truly influential one. You must be assertive enough to own your mistakes without letting them diminish your authority.
This leads us perfectly to our golden word of the day, poise. Poise. Poise is that incredible quality of staying calm, balanced, and dignified, even under pressure or when things go wrong. If you lose a word but keep your poise, you haven't lost the room. You still have the upper hand because your energy remains steady.
I love that. Poise is the antidote to the sorry reflex. It's the ability to pause, breathe, and continue without a hint of shame. It signals to your audience that you are in control regardless of the language you are speaking.
And now it's time for our community challenge. For the next 24 hours, I want every single one of you to go on a sorry streak. You are officially forbidden from saying sorry for any linguistic mistake. If you trip over a verb, if you forget a technical term, or if you need someone to repeat a sentence, you must use one of our power alternatives. Say, "Thank you for the clarification. Let me rephrase that," or "I'm looking for the most precise term. One moment." Share your experience in the comments with the hashtag #NoSorryChallenge. Tell us, did you feel a shift in your power? Was it harder than you expected?
It will be a challenge, but it is the first step towards reclaiming your voice. Remember, you are not an inconvenience. You are a contributor.
Now it's time for our high-speed word tour. Let's lock in those 5 power terms from today's session so you can start using them immediately. Are you ready, Dr. Thorne?
Ready when you are, Luna. Let's do it.
Number 1, patience. Definition, the ability to wait without getting angry. Example, thank you for your patience while I explain this complex idea.
Number 2, inadvertently. Definition, by accident or without intention. Example, I inadvertently skipped a detail, but let me add it now.
Number 3, resilience, your mental bounce-back factor. Example, learning a language requires immense resilience every single day.
Number 4, poise. Definition, grace and balance under pressure. Example, she maintained her poise even when she forgot a technical term.
And number 5, subservience. Definition, acting as if you are lower than someone else. Example, stop apologizing. Linguistic subservience only hides your true talent. These aren't just words. They are your new mindset tools. Dr. Thorne, this has been such a transformative session. Thank you for helping us realize that our mistakes aren't failures. They are evidence of our courage.
It was truly my pleasure, Luna. To everyone listening, remember that your message is always more important than your grammar. Don't let a misplaced verb silence a brilliant mind. You belong in every conversation you enter.
I love that. That is all for today's episode of Speak English with Luna. Now, go out there, make some beautiful mistakes, and keep your poise. Don't forget to join our Sorry Strike and share your stories using the hashtag #NoSorryChallenge. If this episode helped you reclaim your voice, hit subscribe and share it with a friend who needs a confidence boost. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep dreaming in English.